everybody. How are you doing? Hope everyone's having a good evening tonight. Thank you for stopping in. We are going to be creating a custom LinkTree type site, vibe coding it using AI, and hosting it for free on GitHub. So LinkTree has made some changes recently, and it's let me see if I can turn it up. Is that better? That should be better, hopefully. Well, numbers look better at least. All right, so LinkTree has been raising their prices and reducing the number of customizations you can do. So pretty much all of them look the same now. So what I've been doing for a while is I host my own, but I've talked to quite a few people, and they're like, okay, how do I get started with that? Do I have to have a hosting company? What's the best approach for that? And there's a couple of different ways to do it. I've been using GitHub recently because GitHub added a function that's called GitHub Pages, and you can actually link that to a free domain, or not a free domain, but you can actually link that to a custom domain if you want to take it to the next level. So tonight what we're going to do is walk through creating the link tree. So without any coding, we're going to use Google Jewels, and we're going to create the GitHub page, and then we're going to do some customizations to it. Everything I'm showing is free, so GitHub's free. Free hosting, which is nice. And oh, Shenanigans, thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Thanks everybody for stopping in. I didn't even realize you were streaming. I took a nap before the stream, so I didn't realize you were on. So thank you for streaming. I hope everything went well. I know you've been working on your new space, so that's cool. I saw some pictures earlier, and it looks amazing. So yeah, so what we're doing is we're going to be going through what it takes to use AI. We're going to use Google Jewels, which for free, you can use Google Jewels, I think 15 times a day with Google Gemini 3.0. So it's pretty strong, and you don't have to pay anything for it. And we'll see when we get into it how much you can do with 15 calls. Most of what I do is, when I've been going through this and testing it, when I've done it with my personal projects, it's one or two. One gets you kind of the structure, and then you can go back and do any customizations you need. But super easy to do. And then, like I said, we're going to be hosting it on GitHub, and which is free. And so I'll share all those links in the chat as we go along. But if we have any questions, if anybody has anything they want to see or talk about, feel free to ask in chat, and I'll keep an eye on it. So what we're going to do is jump into it. So first thing I'm going to do is I just created a fake creator. We're going to call it Generic Designs Inc. 3D printing content. So you have we want to customize it for obviously your persona. So if you don't have a logo already, AI is amazing for that, and the newer AI actually will do really good at text, which is kind of cool. So some of the older stuff, text was kind of garbage and jumbled, but as you can see, I just asked this to create a generic logo a logo called Generic Designs Inc. The original prompt, I think, was create a round logo for a fictional creator. I didn't want to do layer by layer, so I ended up doing a second one for Generic Design Inc. So I had to put my headphones on to hear you. Let me turn it up just a little bit more then. So hopefully that's better. I don't want to peek it out either, but I can move my mic a little bit closer. So hopefully that's okay. So we're going to go ahead and... So it's kind of cool. So up until a couple of days ago, when you were using Google Jewels, which is their AI assistant for doing programming, you had to pre-create the GitHub pieces. So you had to tie it into an existing GitHub repo. GitHub's free. You just go out to github.com and you can sign up for it. And then once you sign up for it, you create a workspace. And a lot of people don't realize that when you create that workspace, if you load up web files, you can host websites on there. There's GitHub pages. So we'll talk about that. So if we come over to GitHub, I don't have anything created right now. But what I'm going to do is just create a new repository, and we'll just name this Vibe Demo. And you're going to keep it public because that's how people can access it. and we're going to go ahead and create the repo. And so what this is going to do is just create a blank space for us to do what we want to with it. And if you're not using AI, you can come out here and you can drop an index.html in here. You can drop in JavaScript, and it will actually act as if you're dropping it on a web server. So we'll talk about more in a minute what you have to do to configure the back end to make it a website. So let's go ahead and go over to Google Jules now. So if you go to jules.google.com, you have to have a Google account, obviously. You can do the same thing with ChatGPT. You can do the same thing with Claude AI. There's a ton of different AI programming languages out there. The nice thing about this one is it'll actually load the files into GitHub for you. So it makes it super easy. And from my testing, it's super powerful. So yeah, it's crazy how far it's came as far as coding. Most of what I do is one shot and done. So you sign up for Jules. If you have a Gemini account already, if you have a Gemini premium account, it uses that API, so it uses those credits. You end up getting, I think, like 1,000 calls a day or something like that. If you don't, you get, I think it's 15 or 25, or I think it's 15, but you get like 15 calls a day, which is plenty enough to get started. And as we'll see, it works pretty well. So you can get started with just a basic Google account, which is cool. And it lets you use Gemini 3, which is the newest model that just came out a couple of days ago, which kind of takes that power of Gemini 2.0 that it was and steps it up to the next level. So Jules, you log in. As you can see, you can come in here. There's two ways of doing it. I can come in and just start from scratch, and it will just start building out, and it'll actually give me a zip file that I can take and download into my website if I wanted to, or if you wanted to do Python scripts, or if you wanted to do non-web development stuff, you can come in here and use this as well. But where it's really powerful is to come in and attach it to a repo. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select the demo, the Vibe demo. So it's just my repo that I just created, and I'm going to give it my logo as well, because we created that fake logo. So I'm going to come in and select the logo, and I'm going to say, so this is where we start telling it what to do. So we're just going to say create a LinkTree type website for my personal content portfolio. Include the links below, and let's see, include links below. Use my logo that's attached and follow the color scheme. And we'll make this cool after the fact. So you can do a bunch of things in here. If you wanted to, give it a certain background color, which we'll do in a second step, but I could actually do it right from within this prompt. So you just basically build out what you want it to look like. If you want it to look like a certain thing, you can do that. And like Chris said in the chat, you can now use even Google Sketch to work up UIs. You can use Gemini, or you can use another AI image generator to sketch up an AI or sketch up a UI and tell it what it wants to look like. In this example, we're going to keep it. It's going to look like a link tree, so it's going to have that center column, be pretty easy, and we're going to make it familiar to people that are using it. So when they go to your website, it just feels like they're using a link tree. But you can customize this to your heart's content. I'll show when we get done here. I'll show my website that I've been working on and how that's laid out, and that's all done by AI. So if we come in here, we're going to tell it that, and we're going to go ahead and click start. So this does take a second, but what this is going to do behind the scenes is it's actually creating a virtual machine. So this is where it's different than just using ChatGPT to generate the code, or using even Claude to generate the code. It's actually spinning up a VM where it's going to execute this. It's going to do the testing. It's going to figure out everything's going to work. It actually gives you a preview of what that's going to look like, because it runs a script that kind of tests what that page looks like to make sure the usability is there. It's kind of mind-blowing how well it works. So as we go through this and see, we'll kind of see what it's doing. So it's right now it's if you had files in there, it takes and makes a fork of that repository, and it goes and does the edits to it. And then at the end of the thing, you'll end up pushing the code or committing the code to your GitHub. So it's not going to, as we'll see, it doesn't do things live. It actually does. It follows the DevOps process. So you have to go in there and promote the branch to main and that type of thing. So it's nice if you wanted to do testing, you could actually, when we get into the GitHub side, you can have multiple sites. So you could have it, your dev repo, so you can look at the changes before you make it promoted to production or whatever. I'm not that serious, so I just go and push it or do whatever I'm going to do. But yep. So right now, it's going through and creating, or like I said, it's just kind of doing its thing in the background. We'll see it kind of step through it. So now we can see that it creates a plan. You can have it configured to actually have you approve the plan before it goes through and makes the changes, but it steps you through what it's going to do. So it says it's going to create the index and the style sheet. It's going to write a style sheet to match the branding. It's going to, oh, you know what? We didn't give it the links. I would have done that in the primary. I would have done that in the initial prompt. I would have given it my X, my TikTok, my Twitch, whatever it's going to be. And I would have done that in the initial prompt if I were to redo this, because now it's going to be another step. So we'll look at what that looks like, because we'll do another step where we'll add it to we'll tell it to add the links, because I don't think it's going to do, yeah, so it's just going to put placeholders in there for now. So you can see it created the index.html. It used our logo. It created the style sheet. You can see everything that it's actually doing as it's going along, which is really nice, because you can use, I mean, if you know coding and if you're proficient at it, you can use this as a starting point as well. So we'll look and see. Once you've provided the links, we'll fill in the actual user update. Okay, so it's still working. And while this is doing it, I can, we'll say my links are Twitch, http twitch.com/ X. So this is just basically giving it the information that's going to use. So we're going to give it to it. I think that has everything, and then we're going to send it to it. So now it's going to take and update that information. So again, you can add as many of these links as you want. That's the other cool thing, is with LinkTree, you're limited. You're limited to just certain types. So because we're building this on our own, you can do whatever you want to. You can make it as fancy as you want. It will add some styling to it. So as we look at the demo that gets created, it'll likely have like hover over text and things like that. So it makes it really nice, and it looks professional, which is great, because again, if you have a LinkTree, they add their branding all over it, and kind of all of them look the same. So that's one of the reasons why I like the custom LinkTrees. Let me pull up my website while we're sitting here waiting for this to run. So this is my site that I kind of did the same thing on. It started with just the portfolio in the middle, and I had my icons there, but I asked it to do other things. Like I have a Ko-Fi shop, and this is actually all AI coded as well. So instead of using the Ko-Fi shop, I created a custom integration with Ko-Fi using AI that gives me my own UI to be able to do the same thing. So I'm not using that generic Ko-Fi shop. I have my portfolio, so I have my links kind of in here, and I have my my main ones here that I want people to access to, and then I have things like my affiliates. So in here I have all of my affiliate links. So this was all done with AI for the most part. And if you look, even the cool background, which is like computationally generated with CSS versus being some weird image. So pretty cool the things you can do by just leveraging AI that would take a really long time to do without it. So this is still working, it looks like. If we look here, see if it's done anything. Yeah, let me go ahead and share the link to Jules. So yeah, and I don't have links blocked. And then obviously GitHub is github.com, but I'll share the link to that as well. And I'll also share, once this is done, share the link to the project that we're working on as well, so you can kind of see that. You have to be patient. So this will actually run in the background. If you wanted to exit out of this, you could, and you can go do other stuff, and it'll come through and do it. Again, while we're waiting, there's other things we can do. Any questions so far? I know I've been kind of keeping an eye on chat, but does anybody have any questions around using either Jules or AI or just vibe coding in general? Because that's what I've been doing a lot of. You can spam all you want. Go ahead. Yeah, if you want to share your example, go ahead. Feel free. Let's check it out. I'll pull it up on screen. So this is an example that. Oh, you actually made a creator for it. That's pretty cool. So Chris actually programmed a generator for it. So when you publish site, what happens? Let's see. So let's go ahead and publish. Does it create the? Okay, so it gives you the HTML. That's pretty snazzy. I like that. That makes it even easier. Very cool. So yeah, that's another good way to do it. And then you could take this and load this into GitHub or whatever you wanted to as well. So that's really, really cool. Looks like you can add as many links as you want, and it has the social icons. You can add custom icon, or it looks like there's a bunch. Oh, that's cool. All the icons are generated there. Very nice. Awesome idea. Custom backgrounds, everything. You're gonna put LinkTree out of business, Chris. I don't know why this isn't going. Let's see. There we go. Finally. All right. So now it created the plan. See how it actually gave me a preview of what it looks like visually. And this was, I think, before we had the update. But yeah, it's updating it. Now it's doing the pre-commit steps, which is updating the code and doing its validation. So I just had to refresh the page. Hi, Piled 3D. Thanks for stopping in. Welcome in, first-time chatter. Yeah, so going back to mine, this has been a work in progress for a little while. Like I said, it just started with the main buttons here on the page, and it was just a landing page for me. I've been doing more SEO work, so things like having an actual description helps your search engine optimization. Having the header helps with your search engine optimization, and then obviously, having some details around the portfolios and stuff like that really help above and beyond just the basic link tree that doesn't get you a whole lot of search results. I don't think I've ever clicked off of a Google search and had it take me to a link tree. So right now it's verifying changes. You can see here it actually did the testing. It validated that the links worked. It validated that the CSS is created. So again, and now it's doing another screenshot. So we'll actually be able to see what it looks like. And then we'll commit it and look at what it looks like on the page itself. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's really no reason to use a link tree nowadays. I mean, it does give you a nice short link, but domains, you can get a domain for what, like less than $10 a year now. And I'll show you how to point that domain to a GitHub repository for hosting. And then if you go to, contentcreator.com, it will take you right to your Linktree page. Or if you want to actually create a full-blown web page, don't stop at the Linktree. Continue on and build it out as your own personal landing page. So that's the other thing, is we're talking about a Linktree now just because it's a simple, easy to use case. But beyond that, there's a ton of other things you can do. You know, the limitations for the GitHub piece is you can't do like PHP or anything like that require server-side processing. But there's a lot you can do with just JavaScript in the back end. I mean, some of the other things, that we've vibe coded in the past. Let's see, repositories. So, like on on Chris's last vibe coding stream, one of his challenges was to create a kind of a gratitude type thing. GitHub.io, great. And so this is this was all done, and this all hosted on GitHub, and it's actually a game that you can play, and you can put in, I'm glad to be streaming today, and you can plant a seed, and then you can actually water the seed and have it grow. So just fun stuff like that. I mean, you can actually create games and things like that. It's not just websites. So I think, is it in ads? I think it might have popped in ads. So we'll wait a second. Yeah, I need to spend more time on it. It was fun, and like getting. So I kind of want to host it on an actual web server, because then I can do sharing it with friends, and you can actually, you can click here, and I can. I don't know why that's not working. Let me refresh it. You can actually water the. Yeah, I'm just spinning. Weird. You can actually water your plants and tend to them, and you can see how many days it's been planted and things like that. So. Welcome in, Big Jano. How are you doing today? So let's see if that. Okay, so it's still. Let's refresh that again. I think with the fact that Gemini 3 just came out, I think there's a lot of people using this right now. It's a little bit slower than it normally is, but it's still working through its thing. You just gotta be patient. Like I said, I usually throw it in and just go do other stuff. One of the other ones that I did when I was testing earlier was Linktree demo. Maybe that wasn't it. Let's see. Or demo Linktree. So this is another one that I created. This one was one shot with me just giving it the information, and obviously there's a generic logo there because I didn't give it a logo, but being able to have my links in there. Yeah, I use Cursor too. Cursor is good for really good for programming, but what Cursor doesn't do that Jules does is the spinning up of a VM in the cloud and doing testing and debugging before it delivers the code to you, which is kind of crazy. I know Cursor can do the stuff, but it does it locally on your machine. This, we saw the fact that it actually creates a Python script. It executes the Python script. It gives you a screenshot of what it's going to look like. It lets you adjust the screenshot beforehand. And it's doing this all on the back end of the Google infrastructure. So it's crazy how powerful it is. I think we're going to see more of that type of thing. And again, it's kind of crazy how much you can do. Um, okay, so it's still, yeah, it's still doing code review. So yeah, it's just a little slow tonight. As I was talking about earlier, the other thing you can do is if you have a website already, or if you have a hosting provider already, you can actually have it create more complex things. Like this one, I had it create a game, and as you can see, instead of saying promote to Discord or promote to GitHub, it has me actually download the zip file, and I can run it locally, which is kind of nice. So all the steps have been planned, everything's been done. So now this is okay. So we're done. So we've updated. We got the website. If you're not familiar with GitHub, the DevOps process works where you have main a main repository, and then you have branches off of that. So your main is kind of your production. Then you can push branches to it. So this doesn't push changes to your production website. You can push it to a branch, and then you can test it, and then you can decide if you want to promote that to your production or not. So you don't really have to worry about it breaking your website, whatever you do. So clicking publish, it's going to go out to GitHub and automatically create that branch for me. So once this is done, we can go over and look at what that looks like. So view branch, it's going to take me over to GitHub, and you can see here that I have the LinkTree portfolio website. So this, since we haven't done any changes or anything yet, this is my primary, this is my main branch. I can't just go here and see a website. So the magic to getting a website tied to your link or to your GitHub for free is you go to settings, you go to pages, and then down here there's this GitHub pages feature. And what we're going to do is select that branch that was created, and we're going to save it. And now whenever you hit the domain, I think it ends up being your username .github.io, and then whatever your project name is. So if you wanted to just name your project name just has to be unique within your environment. So you could do /links or something like that. So you could, it would be your name.github.io/links, and that would be your kind of your link tree. What did we name ours? Ours was Vibe Demo. So if we go to Vibe Demo, we now load that new page that was created. This is being hosted on GitHub. So GitHub can host HTML, JavaScript, everything for free. And it's pretty powerful. It's hosted on GitHub. There's no host. It uses GitHub for the web hosting, which is kind of a secret that I don't think a lot of people realize it. It's just a GitHub repository. You can make a GitHub repository a web server by just using Google Pages. Does that make sense? Oh, so you have your repository. You go to settings, you go to pages, and then you specify which branch. Because if this was a GitHub project, like a real GitHub project, you would have like a website directory in there or something like that, and so it would be like Prinventory website /website or something like that. This one you can just select the root of a particular branch, and that becomes your website. You can come down here and you can give it a custom domain. So if you want to use chrisperillo.com or like my techjeeper.com, my domains are hosted on Squarespace. I come in here, put my custom domain in, and it goes to, so basically I pay like the $12 a year, and I have hosting, and it's unlimited hosting. So you come in here, you put in your domain, it gives you a DNS record to put in on your hosting side. It's all outlined in the documentation, but you can use a custom domain here too. You just have to get the domain from somewhere else, which, like I said, Squarespace or any of the other ones, it's super cheap to get a domain. Or you can use subdomains if you have a primary domain and you want to make a link tree or something like that. You could create a subdomain and point it to it. So come back here. So now we have the page here, but let's make it look fancier. So followed the color scheme. It gave us, it did a really good job at looking at the logo You'll notice the logo that we gave it had a white background. It actually made it round and look really nice. We have a nice, link tree here with all of our different URLs here. If I click them, they take me to my different pages. Again, this would be your link tree. This would be kind of what we're looking at. But let's make it fancier. Let's come over here and say it looks nice but kind of plain. Let's add some northern something like that. So now we can tell it how we want to enhance it. So it's going to go through and update it. Now, if I didn't want to use Gemini to do that, I could come over here, or if I didn't want to use AI to do that, I could come over here and I could edit. Say I needed to edit one of these URLs. Maybe I changed my Twitch page or something like that. You can come in here and you can just edit it and then save the change, and you can edit right from here too. So you don't have to go through that whole rigmarole of uploading and downloading the file and all that stuff. You can make those changes right from here if you know what you're doing from a coding side. But if you let the AI do it for you, you could also just tell it, hey, I need to make a change. And again, this initial design was done with one call. So, if you have the 12 free ones, or if you have the 100 free ones, or the 100 ones that are included with your Gemini subscription, it's crazy. So now it's going to go through, and this is where things that would be possible coding it manually become a lot easier when you use AI. Like, creating this basic website would not be too crazy, but getting the CSS right for the highlighting and things like that is one thing. But when you start talking about using CSS and things like that for background effects, it gets crazy. Like I said, for my page, this hexagon background that kind of reacts to your cursor is all done basically through CSS, which it's mind-blowing how it even works. It's like it's like a complex algorithm that I wouldn't even try to write if I was doing it. And again, yeah, it's crazy. So now it's doing its update again. It's working on it. It's going through, looking at it's pulling down our current code. It's making changes. Now it's doing the testing, which when we see this verify, it's basically running a script in the back end that's looking at it, taking a screenshot of it, analyzing the screenshot. If there's anything that needs to be changed, if there's any alignment that's improper or anything like that, it goes through and fixes it. And then once that's done, it gives it to you. So that's really where I find the differentiation between Jules and then using something like Cursor or something like Claude or something like ChatGPT or even just Gemini Canvas, is the fact that it's doing a lot of that validation for you. You can get there with the traditional AI. It's crazy calling it traditional, but you can get there with the AI programming of last month. But you were the validation. You would load it in, you would look at it. It's either going to look good, it's not going to look good. You could take a screenshot, feed it back into it, tell it what you're going to change. This does that all for you. So this is where it kind of opens it up to pretty much anybody being able to do this. And I'm hoping that it's useful for people. And hopefully, it helps these content creators in the community build their own custom, portfolios, because I think it's important, especially now that we have, a dozen different model sites that we're hosting our stuff on. We have, all of these different social media sites that we have to keep track of. This, builds your brand by letting you build your portfolio out. So now that it's done, ready for review, it kind of gives you a synopsis of what it did. So now we can click publish branch, and it's going to do that same thing that we did earlier. So it's going to publish the branch, but it's going to do it a little bit differently. So now view branch. Actually, it didn't do a pull request that time. Did it? I guess. Yeah, I guess it didn't. Huh. Normally it'll do a pull request and then you have to go. You know what? I think it's because I told it to directly update the branch. But now it's done. You can kind of see what happened, which is nice because it shows the commits for you, and you could roll back if you want to. So you can actually go back to a previous one if I want to if I decide it messed something up, I can roll back, which in itself is really useful, because if AI makes a change and you're like, this is ugly, I don't want to do this. Um, yeah, well, it's not even really yeah, RSS would be nice, but the challenge with model sites, um, the scammers, the bot scraper scammer people ruin the fun for everybody. When I was working on Printventory, when I work on Printventory, one of the things I wanted to do was users be able to put in their URL for their model and go out and pull it back. But now all of the model sites have such stringent anti-bot to it that the code is so obfuscated that you can't do hardly anything. Uh, my mini factory has an API, which is nice. MakerWorld says they were working on an API to pull information. Um, I haven't heard anything about that since, and that's about it. Um, Things you can get it from the URL, which is cool. But as far as being able to pull it, they're very reluctant on doing any type of automation, because they want people on the site, but they also don't want those people that are on Facebook selling 10,000 STLs for $5 to be able to easily go in there and grab all of Built Over Bots models. So yeah, they kind of ruined the fun for everybody. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and refresh this page, and let's see what it ends up doing. So as you can see, it added a nice gradient effect to the background. We kind of, added a little bit more effects to the buttons and kind of made it even more personalized. So it's nice. So yeah, it's easy. Is there any? So let's hear some ideas in the chat. What else do we want to do? 3MF Colors. It's there's a 3.js module that's community supported that supports 3MF. If you ping me on Discord, I can send you the name of it. It's a GitHub Python package, or not Python. Yeah, no. Yeah, Python package. No, not Python. It's a GitHub package that you can load. It's a library. But yeah, if you send me a message on Discord, I can send that to you. Any ideas how else we want to enhance this? And we can do things like add in a a social feed or something like that. You'd have to get the Twitter. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. I don't know if I don't think I've ever tried that, but let's do. I want to add the latest X post from x.com/. Let's actually use a real one. To my page to keep my users updated. Let's see what happens. Let's see if you can't really use the X API. Elon Musk kind of ruined that when he took it over. He restricted it to crazy. Yeah, let's do. See, we can enhance the background. This is supposed to. I think this moves, but it's so gentle that you can't really tell. You can see it fading over from this way. Yeah, we can do something more immersive once this is done. I'm curious to see what happens if it's able to pull the information in. Yeah, it actually. I mean, it is using. I believe it's probably using JavaScript. So no, I guess we don't have any JavaScript in there. So usually, I mean, if you look at the some of the other repos that I worked on, like my site, my TechJeeper website, there's a whole asset file full of JavaScripts that it's doing, and that's the background JavaScript. So it is using JavaScript for the background. The other nice thing is too, I shared, like on mine, I shared my Ko-fi integration, because that's not something that exists out there, and it's probably against Ko-fi terms of service because they want you on their website. But if anybody else wanted to implement it, I shared all of the steps to actually doing the implementation for it too. So basically all it does is just go out and gets the product category by your Ko-fi ID, which is nice. But so now it's actually going and doing research on how to do it. It's probably going to come back and tell me that I don't have, or I need to give it the API. I think I don't know. I've heard it always just referred to as Ko-fi. because it's ko-fi. Buy Me a Coffee is a different site. So Ko-fi is the shop that you can. It's like basically the content creator shop, so you can come in here and it's like almost like a Patreon, but they have a free shop that isn't extorting you like Etsy does. All right, so let's see what this is going to do, and then let's do add in a I probably spelled that wrong, but I don't know. It does. Let's see. Does it do queuing? I think it does. Yeah. So I think after this finishes, it'll do the next step. Jules is still in the early stages. It's not been out for crazy long, so that was one of my pieces of feedback that I gave them was most of the AI ones now have a queue, so you can keep giving it stuff and it'll work on one, go to the next one, work on the next one. I think this does it, but it just kind of puts it into the stream, so you can't really tell where you're at in the queue. So has anybody done? So I know Piled, you do a lot of AI. I know you use AI a lot in the projects that you're working on. Chris, I know you do a ton of AI stuff. Does anybody else in the chat have they played around with using AI for code development? Have you done any cool projects? I like how it did copyright 2024. AI still can't figure out what date it is, which is hilarious to me. Oh yeah, Shenanigans is in the chat too. He does a ton of microprocessor and so I would be curious, Shenanigans. Gemini 3 just came out a couple of days ago, and I wonder if that is any better. And I also wonder if you take I know part of the Gemini 3 enhancements is the image processing is supposed to be better. So like understanding what's actually going on in a picture, and I wonder if that would help. Like if you uploaded a schematic of like the ESP32, or even going to Tinkercad and mock up the circuitry, and then give that to AI if it would be more intelligent on how it does that. Let's see. Because I know in Tinkercad, I think you can pull in most of the different like ESP32s and stuff like that. So that might make it better understand the pinouts, which would be kind of cool. Oh, I guess they don't have. I thought they had. So they have all of the Arduino stuff, Arduino microbit and circuit assemblies. I thought they had. I guess they don't have. I thought they had ESP32 in there, but I guess they don't. And within Tinkercad, I'd have it open in my Windows. I thought I would check. Okay, so come on. I'm impatient. Let's see. Actually, while this is doing this, let's try something fun. Let's go here. Let's go to new. And I want to close that. I just want to say, create a fun game that's a modern twist on Tetris. So that's done. Oh, it's still working. So, all right. So it's gonna remove the Aurora. I'm curious to see what it ends up coming up with because I don't think it actually. Yeah, more of particle network background. So that should be fun. Let's see what ends up happening. So now it's basically cleaning the old stuff up. So this one isn't using a GitHub repository. So what we'll get from this one is a file that we'll download and run locally. Because if you see, I cleared out the GitHub repo. So. I don't know if shoutouts are going to work. Oh, there it is. I did the wrong one. I was going to try shouting out Chris. So, Chris, if you're interested in the vibe coding stuff too, Chris has been doing a lot of sessions, and he has a section in his Discord dedicated to it. One of his last streams is where I found, or one of his last events is where I found out about the Jules. He actually had one of the product managers from Jules on, which was really cool to hear about from Google. So good way to keep up to date on what's going on, because the stuff changes like literally every day, it seems like. Let's see which one's going to finish first. Oh, this one's actually cruising along. So it's actually created a Tetromeo. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. It's kind of neat to look through it though, because it's like giving me the logic of the games, collision detection, effects. And yeah, Chris also, I mean, I think he posted it earlier, but he didn't share, he shared the project itself, but on his website too, he has a, what he calls the arcade, and all of those are most of those I think are all AI coded, basically vibe coded stuff. So if we look at this, like these are all vibe coded applications that he's done. So it's a really good showcase of what you can do with AI. Some of them are pretty mind-blowing. So, I mean, every time I look at this, it seems like the page doubles in size. So I think all he does is sit at home all day and vibe codes, which is pretty cool. So, all right, so that's finishing up. So now we're moving into review for that one. This one should be almost done. And I mean, I found myself, so because it's such a low barrier to building out some of these things, either web-based or something that runs locally with either Python or PowerShell or something like that. I find myself automating daily tasks too. So, back in the day, you had to be a PowerShell guru in order to build something out that you want to do simple on your computer. Now, if you're like, I wish I had a simple way of just clicking a button and doing this on your system, there's no reason why you can't go out to AI and say, hey, make me a script that does that. So I have a whole repo of different scripts that I tie to shortcuts, and I use in my day-to-day, my work day. So it makes stuff a lot easier. Hey DJ Midnight Wolf, thanks for coming in. First time chatter, awesome. I know I haven't been streaming much recently, so I think 2 times in a week is like a record for me for this past year. So hopefully getting into it more, doing stuff like this if there's interest in it. I also do 3D printing. Tuesday, my U1 is supposed to be here, so I'll probably be one of the 50 people that will probably live stream that, maybe, unless it's just everybody else is doing it. You can point this at existing code too. I mean, if you have existing code base, you can provide it to the system. You can upload it to GitHub, or you can give it, the files itself, and tell it to do whatever you want to with it. So that you don't have to start from scratch with these programs. And even troubleshooting, if you're coming into an error that you can't seem to overcome, that was my first introduction to AI programming, was using it for troubleshooting, and it was invaluable. Back in the before that, you'd have to do Google searches, you'd have to check Reddit, you'd go to Stack Overflow and hope somebody else has had that issue. And then if they had, you had to figure out, okay, well, where is it in my code that I need to pinpoint to fix it? And with AI now, you just point it at it and it does its thing and fixes everything, and everything's good to go. So let's see. So that one's finishing up. This one's probably pretty close to being done too. I'm curious to see what ends up coming up with. So, and there's real, I mean, say what you will about AI. There's a lot of controversy around AI for art, AI for modeling and things like that, where it's a creative art. Programming is a creative art, I'll give it that, but there's always been such a high barrier to programming that you had to have specialties. And even the people that were programmers were spending a lot of time doing the troubleshooting, doing the research, trying to figure out how to do a particular action, or make something work a certain way. Very few people were like savants in programming that can just sit down and do anything that they want to in a language. This reduces that barrier, makes those people more efficient, and allows people that don't have programming experiences to essentially become program managers, where they kind of just tell what they want. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine you could probably give AI your HTML4 code and tell it to convert it to HTML5, and it would look at it, evaluate it, create the HTML5, and give you everything you want. I mean, that's probably a very easy use case, and that's so with something like Cursor or Gemini, or using ChatGPT or Claude with that, you would probably have to take screenshots, and that's where, if you can upload that to a GitHub repo, point Jules at it, tell it to convert it. Jules is going to run that script in the background. It's going to interact with your website. It's going to know how it works today, and then it's going to take and convert it. So that's that agentic piece, where it's doing things for you in the background and doing the legwork is really where it's mind-blowing. The agentic AI stuff is absolutely crazy to think about how it's working. Yeah, it's like asking an employee to do something, but yeah, you have to treat that employee, most of the time with AI, you treat that employee like it's a toddler, though, because you really have to be specific. If you leave it open-ended, it's just gonna do whatever it wants. So the more specific you are about what you want to be done, the better your results are, and that's where prompt engineering comes into play. All right, so we added the background with the particle network, so we publish it. And then, oh, no comments between. never seen that error before. Between LinkedIn and please ensure that the has new commits. Please ensure your branch has new commits. Oh, you know what? It probably did it. Did it do it? Let's see. Okay, so it just couldn't validate that it was actually doing it. That was weird. So okay, so now we've done that. Let's do a refresh and see what we come up with. Ooh, oh, that's cool. Look at that. So as you move your cursor around, the background interacts with it. So again, this is something that, I mean, you could probably figure out how to do on your own. I'm not that smart. It would have, you know, I would if I wanted to do something like this, I probably would go out and look at what's available for the functionality that I want on the network. You know, what's available out there that somebody else a lot smarter than me built. Very cool. That was a good idea, Chris. I like that. So what's everybody think? Do you think it's useful to be able to use AI, use GitHub to create your free digital hub, and you know, get away from the restraints of LinkedIn or LinkTree? Because you know, something like this is going to stand out a lot more than a LinkTree type of website is, in my opinion. And you know, you just continue to build this on. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's the Twitter feed. Did it end up doing that? Tweet. Oh, so it didn't. So yeah, Twitter's weird. I didn't think it was going to work because Twitter's weird with how you access it from their API. So you know, you can click here and it'll take you to my tweets, but I didn't think it was going to be able to embed them. Except if you have a Twitter premium account, you can use their API, but I don't pay for that. Yeah. Anything else anybody else wants to? Actually, let's see what the game came back with, because I'm curious about that. Yeah, and so like I think you came in kind of late, but from within GitHub. So let's go through that one last time, because I see a bunch of new people had joined in the past 15 20 minutes. So what we did is we created a repo in GitHub, which is free. So I created this Vibe demo repo, which was blank, didn't have any files in it. I used Jules, pointed it at that repo, so you connect your GitHub to your Google Jules account, and this is free as well. Free if you have Gemini, you get more calls, but if you don't, I think you, like I said, I think you get like 15 calls. We've used 5 in everything we've done today, which is crazy. So it's not the calls in here; it's your kind of your different sessions. So we tied it to it. We told it what we wanted it to do. So if we go up to the top here, we've got the initial prompt, which, you know, create a LinkTree site, blah, blah, blah. I gave it my logo, and it went through and created it. We've kind of just been doing that. That created this repository with the files in it. And then to create a website based on that, all you have to do is in your repo, go to settings, go to pages, and select that. Normally it's only it's gonna only be one thing in here. It's either gonna be none or it's gonna be one branch in there. You select that, you click save, and now when you go to your name.github.io/project name, you have the website that you're doing, and this is hosted on GitHub. You know, you don't have to worry about hosting fees or anything like that. If you want to use a custom domain, you come down here, put your custom domain in. It gives you a DNS record. I think it's an A record or whatever, to put into your DNS configuration on your domain provider's website. And then when you go to your URL, it takes you right to your webpage, like my techcheaper.com. So when we go to techcheaper.com, it's going to this page, but it's going to actually, we could show that. So if we come back here, TechCheaper website, underneath of here, settings, pages, you can see I have my techcheaper.com, and then all I had to do is go in. There's a link here that talks about configuring the DNS. Okay, so I completely missed that point. So DNS or domains are cheap, right? Domains are $10 a month or whatever. They're super cheap. The usually the expense is going to be your SSL certificate. So if you go to a website back in the day, you used to have HTTP and HTTPS. If you just buy a domain and point it to a web server, it's going to be an HTTPS web server. You have to pay for a domain, or you have to pay for an SSL certificate. A lot of hosting providers will give you an SSL certificate for free, but again, you're paying the $20 a month or whatever it is for that. With GitHub, that's why I first started using it, is the fact that you get the GitHub SSL applied to your website. You don't have to pay for SSL, so you're not going to get a scary splash screen saying that your site's insecure or anything like that. That's the other benefit of this. That's probably a bigger cost savings than the domain itself, or than the hosting itself. Yeah, than the hosting itself, because that SSL certificate, gives you credibility when people go to your site. So that all comes with this too. So you point your domain here, and now everything you create on here is HTTPS encrypted, which is a huge plus. So I didn't think about that until I saw the enforce, which normally I would check this and have it, but I don't want to do it because I haven't tested it. But all right, so that's been done. Let's go ahead and look at the game that we created. So here's where you can see I did the validation. It created a screenshot of what's getting created, so I can actually look at that and see what it's going to look like. It looks like Tetris to me. I don't know. We told it to be innovative, but whatever. And so here it gave me a zip file. Download the zip file, open the zip file up, extract that out. And so all this did is basically create an HTML version of Tetris. So let's go ahead and open that. So this is the file that it extracted. And now we have our Tetris game. So enter to start. Yeah, it's Tetris. So, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy. AI made this with what was that, like 10 seconds of telling it what I wanted, what I wanted. So, anybody can be a developer nowadays. You can create fun stuff. Imagine going to somebody and impressing them by telling them, "Hey, I built this game." I suck at Tetris. There we go. Yeah, it even seems to be working right, which is crazy. It basically recreated Tetris, even though I told it I wanted it. I guess Tetris is cool. But yeah, that's fun. So anything else? Any other questions? If you want to, what's that? That site that it created? Yeah, it did it. Yeah, I didn't have to do any follow-ups or anything. It just created this, by just telling it. I think it kind of misinterpreted the prompt a little bit, because I didn't exactly want Tetris. I think my prompt was create a fun game that's a modern twist on Tetris, but looks really cool and innovative. I guess it's glowy. I guess is kind of where they took that. But yeah, I did it with. I didn't have to do no second prompts or anything. I mean, it created this and it works. Yeah. I don't know what focus is. I wonder what happens if we get. I don't know. Let's see. Because there's that focus bar. Oh, shift focus. Oh, so okay. So you can actually slow it down. That's kind of cool. So I guess that is different than Tetris. So there's that focus engine, and I can actually hit the shift key and like pause it for a second. So that's kind of fun. So it did add some other things to it. I guess it didn't just blatantly copy Tetris, but cool. But as I was saying, if anybody wants to, if you think this is something that you're interested in, and you want help creating a site, or creating, your own digital hub or whatever, feel free to reach out. We can jump on a Discord call or whatever, and I'll walk you through it. I mean, it's not super difficult. And then, after you do it once, you kind of get an understanding of what needs to be done. You're empowered to do it, and create your own create your own digital persona, because that's important. You know, most of us that are in here are some sort of content creators, or you know, have a digital presence, even if it's just you know, for a resume. That was what my website originally was kind of my digital resume for not only projects that I've done in the past, but also you know, if I wanted to look for a new job or anything. Having a website that you can point somebody to is a lot more flashier than just handing them a piece of paper. It's kind of a complementary, you know, skill set that you can showcase. And even if AI did it, you know, you don't have to. Don't feel bad for admitting that you used AI to create something, because nowadays prompt engineering in itself is a huge skill. There's companies out there that are looking for prompt engineers. That's essentially what I've became in my day-to-day job, is essentially creating, making AI agents and telling them what to do and how to respond to different things. So, you know, that is the programming of the future, basically. Well, cool. Yeah, if you, let's see. Chris, are you still in the chat? Do you want to drop your Discord? I don't have a link to your Discord, but if you're not in Chris Perillo's Discord and you're interested in vibe coding, he does regular sessions on this, where we jump on and he's done a couple of hackathon type things. Exactly. Yeah, it's Googling an answer, which is, I mean, the story I like to tell is when I was going through school, in middle school, I had the first year that they offered a class called Research Internet and PowerPoint. And so what it was learning how to use basically learning how to use Microsoft Office, but more importantly, learning how to write search queries to find what you wanted to on the internet. Back then it was like using, it was like Yahoo and Ask Jeeves or something like that. It was before, I think it was even before the Google days. But once I found out that I had all of this information at my fingertips, it made me realize that I could literally do anything. If I had a computer in front of me and I knew how to if I knew how to search for the vast storage of internet or the vast storage of data that's out there, you can literally do anything. It's the power of just knowing how to get to that information. And AI takes that to the next level. It opens it up to more people. It's more intelligent. It's getting better at not providing improper information. So, you know, before you had to be kind of careful. You have to understand where things are coming from. Now, most of the tools will give you credible sources that you can look up, which is great. Early AI didn't give you sources. Now, when you use Gemini or use ChatGPT or use any of the other ones, it gives you a list of the sources that are out there. So you always still want to validate your sources. Yeah, but Googling, I mean, before AI, my approach to Googling for the last few years has been Googling something and then putting Reddit at the end of it, because Google search results have been so tainted with, you know, it's a race to the top for SEO, and it's whoever pays the most. So I mean, they had been slipping for a while. Now it's, you know, getting better. You know, when I go to Google and Google something, I go to the AI tab, or I let Gemini come back and give me a result, and it lets me skip the 10 pages of sponsored or paid advertisements that come back. Now, how long will that last, where those AI generated responses will be you know, not paid responses? We'll see how that works out. But yeah, it's just crazy. And now, you know, the fact that AI can not only parse text out, but it can also, you know, look at images, look at videos, look at content that's in different types of media, just gives you so much richer of a response. So don't be afraid to use it. You know, again, especially in the creator space, there's a lot of people that are torn when it comes to AI, and I'm the same way. AI, using AI to write books. There's so much AI slop out there. If you go to Kindle nowadays, using AI to create art and passing it off as your own is terrible. Using AI to deceive people is probably my biggest pet peeve. Using AI to create videos that look extremely realistic, and then going out there and posting it to people that might not know any better and making them believe that it's real, is probably the biggest problem with AI. But at the same time, it's a very, very powerful tool that we all have at our fingertips. Um, so, I will be posting a VOD of this, so there'll be a VOD of it. I'll be probably doing some shorts out of it as well. I'm just a Discord message away. So again, if you reach out to me on Discord or on here, feel free to let me know. Yeah, and built over bot. If you have any questions around AI or want to talk about it more in depth, let me know. Yeah, I mean, AI has made the videos more believable, but misinformation and scammers using it is really nothing new. It's just easier for them to do now, and it's more believable. I mean, deep fakes have been around for a while, but that's why I'll admit I post a lot of AI generated content to things like TikTok for fun. The 3D printing videos that are AI generated and stuff like that. But I make sure not to try to hide the Sora watermarks, and in the comments I tag it as AI content, and I usually put hashtag Sora AI in there or whatever. So I'm not trying to hide. I'm not trying to deceive anybody. When I do I did the Maker Chip website with K2 Kevin. We were cranking that thing out so quickly. I could have said I'm some savant that is really good at programming, but I at the same time there was things on there that I would not have been able to even comprehend how to figure out. When it comes to AI, it made it simple. So like what I'm talking about is one of the ones that kind of blew my mind when we first saw it. I said, I want the Maker chips to fall down and be the background of the header, and it came up with this design, which is, let me pull this up on the screen. It came up with this design where you have the Maker chips in the background that kind of fall into view. That's something I would have never been able to figure out how to do without AI. I mean, it's just the fact that it can even do that is kind of crazy. So use it, superpower. Use it to grow your brand, to get your name out there, to attract attention to whatever cause or whatever initiative or whatever you're trying to. Selling yourself as content creators. That's what we do. So yeah. And I'll probably do more of these as I think about more use cases, or if I have any projects that I want to build up in the future. Yeah, I mean, exactly. I basically use AI to generate videos for the lulz of it. But if you're using it um, to deceive people, that's where I draw issue with. Um, yeah, she would upload it as yeah. I'll upload this to YouTube. Um, I'll probably end up taking it and parsing it out into some sections and cleaning it up, and then putting it up to YouTube. It'll also be a VOD on Twitch. Um, but yeah, for longevity, I'll put it up on YouTube for sure. I already planned on that. Yeah, and if there's any other AI coding things that you want to see in the future, let me know. Oh, I don't I don't have that. You can do it through, I think, Stream Elements. You can have the chat as a element, but I didn't do that, so probably won't have the chat. But again, it'll be just when I usually upload to YouTube, it's cleaner. I'll I'll cut out a lot of the banter because nobody wants to sit through an hour and a half video for something that takes 20 minutes to build out. Where we did a lot of going back and forth because we had some wait times and things like that. So yeah, that's why I try to if it's a question, I try to reiterate it back into the video. But yeah, well, I mean, if we need to, we'll set up another one of these as well. So yeah, let's see if there's anybody we can raid out to. Yeah, like Built Over Bot says, I cut out most of this banter because nobody wants to sit through. Actually, I use Opus Clip to do it, but cut out the banter, make it the relevant information. So if somebody wants to create a LinkedIn, or not a LinkedIn, a LinkTree, they can go through and watch a 15-minute video versus a hour and 15-minute video because nobody has that attention span anymore. So I'm not trying to publish a feature length film. So let's see who is online. I know Friday nights is usually kind of weird. Let's see. Wow, there's actually a lot of people online. Let's, I guess, go over to... I saw he was lurking. Let's go over to... Yeah, half the time, 15-minute video. Let's go over to Giggy Jack. So I saw him... saw he was streaming. Actually, Free Heathen's on. Let's go over him. Let's see. Raid out. Stay for the raid. Again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I love to ramble about this stuff forever, so just let me know. And if there's anything else you want to see or any topics for future videos, I don't plan on streaming on a regular schedule. I just don't. That doesn't fit into my lifestyle. But these impromptu streams, I'll make sure to communicate them out. So if you're not following, click that follow button and stay for the raid. Let's see who we can find here.